I'm genuinely very sorry for taking this long to post an update, but this is my 8-month update for my rhinoplasty. If you saw my last video where I took you along my journey of getting my rhinoplasty done in Turkey, I want you guys to see my table photos and how that differs from my current nose right now. So this is my current nose. Okay, I'm just gonna reiterate some important notes before we really get into the update. The second I stepped foot in Turkey, like everything including transportation, accommodation, the surgery itself, the aftercare, the medication, all of that was a package deal for me. It was 6,400 USD. And I live in Canada, so that is approximately 8,635 Canadian. I had to pay for my own flights, so that was 1,300. So everything was about like 9,000, just under 10,000. I'm really bad at math. Just under 10,000 for basically the entire thing. As a comparison, I know in Toronto, lots of girls that have done it, it's approximately like 18 to 20,000. I know even in the US it is significantly worse than that. So this really was the best way to get a rhinoplasty done for the cheapest option. And I know 6,400 USD is a lot. There are surgeons in Turkey that have lower price points, but I really wanted this surgeon. This was my surgeon. I think that when it comes to surgery, it is not a time to be saving money. Like if you can't afford to get it done by the person you want it to be done by, just wait another year. As for my nose update, I feel like it's part of my face now. Like I can feel my nerve endings. All of my senses have come back into my nose. Like when I first got it done, it definitely felt like my nose was very separate from the rest of my face. Like I could feel that it was like plasticky. It's really grown on me. I feel very comfortable with it. Like I'm not as overly protective of making sure I don't get hit in the face by anything. Like obviously it's still in the back of my mind, but I'm not as protective of it as I used to be. After my 6 months, I was able to start blowing my nose, which honestly has been really amazing. I love blowing my nose, especially when I'm sick. So these little things that like kind of were bugging me at the beginning don't really matter that much anymore. Am I happy with the results? Like sometimes I'm really obsessed with it and I really love my nose and I feel like it looks really amazing from like my side profile and looks really great. In some positions when I look down or like when I look like kind of like this way, it does feel like it's still not as lifted as I kind of wanted it to be. It has bothered me that it's still not perfect, but I think that you shouldn't expect perfection. Second of all, these little things and overanalyzing cosmetic surgery like that is the reason why so many people get revisions done. I'm not gonna lie to you, it has crossed my mind. Getting a revision done has crossed my mind. Like it's not as slopey as I kind of wanted it to be. However, when I compare how I feel about my nose now versus before my surgery, I am really happy with it. Like if I'm standing looking at you this way and someone's standing here looking at my nose, I'm not feeling insecure about my side profile. And to me, that was like the main objective. That was the main goal. And I think it's a success. Like mission accomplished. I don't feel insecure when someone is looking at my side profile. And that's kind of all I could ask for. So I've gone through the comments that you guys have left on my first video, and I just wanted to address a couple of them as well through this update video, what I was looking for. So I didn't have much going in. I didn't take any photos. I had nothing with me really. And if you like the way my nose looks and you kind of want the same results, like these are the biggest things. First of all, I didn't want small nostrils. That was a huge thing I wanted to keep the size of my nostrils pretty close to my original nostril size. I don't like very small slivered nostrils. And also I wanted them to be circular rather than vertical, if that makes sense. I don't like a vertical nostril. Like I wanted a circular nostril. The other thing that I thought of is this part of my nose. I don't like when it's too straight here. It feels weird having it connected from your forehead to your nose. So this little bridge part, I needed it to have like a pretty steep dip. This isn't possible for everyone. Not everyone's biological nose allows for that to happen, but I asked to make sure that it could be as steep as physically possible. I also didn't want, sometimes you can see like two lines right here and it's very structured and I didn't like that. So those are the things that I asked for. Next question that a lot of people asked me was about my haircut. I am so sorry. I do not know the name of the place that I went to. It was just around the corner from my hotel and I just kind of popped in because there was nowhere else around. I will say I hated my haircut. My haircut was really bad. The blowout was phenomenal. Like this blowout was the best blowout I've ever had in my life. And I think that will happen no matter what salon you go to. I think they're pretty good at blowouts in general because I think that that's what a lot of people get. I didn't have a good haircut, and also my friend who got her hair bleached there basically burned off half her hair. So I really didn't want to promote them at the time because I had a half good experience there. My overall experience was really fun. I went into it knowing I would have a fun time. I also met a lot of really amazing people there. Like I had 3-4 girls that I really loved and like I loved hanging out with, and that kind of really helped make the time go by faster because we would kind of see each other and like have breakfast together and like go out and do stuff together. Even though I traveled on my own, I never felt like I was by myself really. So I think that's just luck. I think that's just dependent on who's there at the same time that you are, which also relates to anxiety. I know when you travel by yourself, there is a sense of anxiety. I personally did not experience that much anxiety going into it. Going into it, I was tired of my nose. I was exhausted. I hated the way my face looked. I was ecstatic to do this. It didn't even cross my mind that I would have a botched job or that it would be different because I was in another country, because I know how famous this surgeon is, how many people go there, and how many surgeries these doctors do on a day-to-day basis. And I think it was like a day or two had gone by, then the anxiety started kicking in. My face was taped up. I was in a lot of pain. I didn't know how my nose was going to look. And seeing my table picture results, it was an insane experience because I actually felt like crying. I didn't like them. I thought I didn't have any expectation, but it just wasn't what I thought it would look like in my head. And therefore, it just made me feel so anxious. And then going through all of that pain, thinking, like, why am I going through all of this pain and why am I doing all of this for something that kind of was not the worst? And I think that clicked in my head a lot, was like, my nose isn't even that bad. Like, I've seen people with worse, and why am I suffering through all of this? And it was just that uncertainty of not knowing how I was going to come to like it. The second I got my cast off, that anxiety completely melted though. I really did end up really loving it once I took my cast off. I also love that I went by myself. I think it was an independent trip. It was an independent recovery period. I really loved my experience, but I am very like, leave me alone. And if you need comfort from other people, then I maybe wouldn't recommend you going by yourself. Pain level, first three days, I would say an 8 out of 10, 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Once the 4th day hit, I dropped down to like a 3 or like a 2. And that continued until the 6th day. And then after the 6th day, like I literally did not feel a thing. I did not feel any differently. I didn't feel like I was in recovery. It was a pretty short-term recovery period where I felt like physically like unwell. Language barrier. I didn't think anything of it, and I had no worries because my surgeon spoke English and I knew that he spoke English. The only time that I was like, fuck, I'm not in Canada and shit, like no one understands what I'm saying, is overnight with the nurse. She didn't speak a word of English. I can't speak Turkish. It was a problem then where I was like, oh my God, she doesn't understand that I'm in a lot of pain. She doesn't understand that this IV is actually making me feel so ill right now and I'm going to vomit. It was a different sense of hospitality where they're kind of like, suck it up, like your vitals are fine. And I'm like, no, I actually can feel cold fluid going through my hand. And it was that lack of empathy mixed with not speaking the same language that was the only problem ever where I felt like I wish I was in Canada. Taking the packing out of your nostrils, like I've seen videos of doctors pulling it out and it's like this long tube of like mushed like cotton, and like it's just like this long thing and it's like up in your sinuses. I didn't have that. Like the way this man just pulled out a little piece of silicone packaging out of my nose, it was so easy. I didn't feel a fucking thing. It was not as painful as I anticipated. I don't know if there are surgeons that still use that method of like the super long like nasal packer. I don't know if they still use that or if everyone switched completely over to silicone, but my surgeon used silicone and I was really grateful for that. I did have a deviated septum, but my skin was not thick. So I feel like that's the kind of nose I had. I also have, like, I didn't have a cartilage extraction, which if you do need a cartilage extraction, you really do have 2 surgeries because they need to cut into your rib to take out cartilage, and then they also need to do your rhinoplasty to put the cartilage in there. I had enough cartilage. Personally, that is the line for me. I don't think I would have done the surgery if they needed to cut into my rib for extra cartilage. Everyone is different. Cutting into my rib would have freaked me out personally. So I know that if you have a more squishier nose, less cartilage, like often East Asian or African American, or just like if your nose structure is much flatter, you are going to need that extra cartilage. And some doctors use your ear cartilage, but I actually don't think that's as common anymore. I think they do have to go into your ribs. So that's also something to consider. But they'll tell you before booking your flights and everything that yes, you need to go into your rib and also extract more cartilage. You know what I would go into the mindset with is like, look at the worst nose that surgeon has done and think to yourself, would you be able to live with yourself if that was the result of your nose? And if it's a no, then keep on looking for another one. Go on their Instagram, find the worst nose that you can find and use that as your kind of middle ground. And just know that there are so many other noses that they have worked on that they have not even posted, and that the best ones are the best possible outcome for your nose. So I would kind of view it like that. And last but not least, how did I sleep? I am a back sleeper sometimes. It wasn't the worst, but it also was not great. You have to sleep elevated and on your back. It's a small price to pay. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I thought it would affect me a lot more. It wasn't that bad. I really just like made a pillow coma for myself and just kind of like snuggled myself into a bunch of pillows around me. So I was okay. And those are all of the questions and comments that I got from you guys. I hope this video was really helpful. If you're going into surgery soon, I wish you all of the best. Make your expectations as clear as possible. Choose your doctor as wisely as possible. And also just know that it's temporary and that you get to have your dream nose or the nose that you've been wanting for so long. It's not as scary as you think it is if you're just excited to finally do it. And I hope that was helpful.